Welcome back to another episode of the Old Terps podcast, brought to you by the good folks at New Amendment. Season's over. Travis works at Saks, the clothing brand. If you guys ever need anything, just shoot him a quick DM and he'll get you right. And other than that, I just watched Kevin get hosed down by 7 refs last night on about 15 fouls. In how many minutes did you play last night, Kev?
It felt like 10. I think it was around 20.
Am I allowed to say that? I'm getting bro and haha in the chat.
No, you can see. You keep talking. Keep talking about how I work at Saks Fifth Avenue. Continue. Let the people want to hear more about that.
I think they're more worried about me commenting on the refs hosing Kevin down. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's just a fact. Jesus. All right, Kev, go ahead and explain real fast what happened last night, because I watched it. It was one of the most despicable things I've ever seen, and we got to get something off our chest because I couldn't.
Don't get fined. Don't get fined.
Yeah, Sacramento Kings, great game at home to clinch a playoff berth, 16 seasons without getting there, and couldn't get it done in the home court. Some questionable calls against your boy. Was in and out of the lineup pretty quickly in the first and third quarters, and couldn't get back to it.
I mean, it's just never fun to watch. I'll tell you what, I watch NBA games, not as much as college, but I watch a good amount. It is tough to sit, and I watch pretty much every single one of yours, Kev. It is so tough seeing you get just the worst foul calls called on you of all time. I mean, I know I'm a little bit biased, but there are times where you just sit there and you're like, it's because you're white.
I'm glad you said it, because there's definitely times I feel like there's some stereotypes, and I don't always think I get the best whistle, but here we are. It's just sometimes how it goes. You pick and choose your battles.
Travis, I'd also like to hit on real quick. A lot of murmurs going around right now. A lot of people are talking about it. A lot of people are saying things. Where do you work? Let's just clear that up for the podcast world. Where do you work? Who is your employer?
Let's put this to bed once and for all. I work at Goldman Sachs & Co.
Wow.
200 West Street in New York.
Wow.
Apparently rumors were swirling that somebody said, he works at Saks. They heard Saks, and he works at Saks. He sells Mike Amiri jeans on Saturdays. I don't sell Mike Amiri jeans on Saturdays. None of that.
You're looking to fly out in Chicago? Is that why people are saying it?
Brother, I don't miss a beat. We know this. We keep it tight. I had a phenomenal pair of Carpenter denim jeans on. I don't think anybody's seen those before. The ladies were loving it.
What was
Nothing really else to say about that?
What was Andrew rocking all weekend? I heard we got some 2013 Maryland Terps gear, the sweatpants, and maybe a Notre Dame hat to go with it.
That black Maryland pullover.
Tell him, Trav and I have texted about this a number of times on the side. I'm looking at my Kith wardrobe over there. Got about 8-9 shirts that I'm going to unveil here shortly. But secondly, Trav, you and I talked about it. If you missed that weekend, believe me, you missed out. Like, plain and simple, I had over $1,200 worth of minibar charges. Minibar. Like in your hotel room. $1,200, guys. You want to grow up? Come party with me.
Podcast is doing well,
I will say he if you weren't there, you will have regrets. But the second part I'll say, y'all will laugh about this, is I think the day before I was gonna fly out, I looked at my phone. I had 15 text notifications from Drew, and it was Kith 15 times in a row. It's Kith. He said, "I need you there. Get there now. Pick up my order. I need you there."
Don't let these fools clothes. Hey, don't let my clothes, fool you. I got money. I got money. Trust me.
Did it make it out to Chicago? Is this confirmed or?
No. I actually wore a Mr. Rogers sweater with a little pink under thing. Not pink. It was like, it was a nice little blend. I got so many compliments. You should see how many pictures I've got. We can put that out with this video. It was uncomfortable at some points during the night because so many chicks were coming up to me asking for pictures. I thought they were mistaking me for somebody else, but it was just the outfit. So, Don't let this shit fool you on that I got right now. I had a haircut. Actually, I didn't have a haircut. Little hat action, little kith, little sweater. Can't beat that.
It was a Drew special. You know the sweatpants that have seen 96 cycles in the washing machine? And they're black and then they get a little grayed out.
We know what you're talking about.
We know exactly.
No, he looked good though. My
Where
guy
are you
looked
at,
good.
Reese? Where are you? You're in Maryland right now. Where are you at?
Hey, them things choke
Where
my
are you?
man's
Where are
calves.
you? Where are you recording?
My man's calves cannot breathe in this.
Where are you recording this podcast, Reese? You got really nice background. Where you at?
Davidsonville, Maryland.
Oh, nice.
Where
Are you?
He's giving out
Where
his
are you?
address now. He's giving out
Where
his
is you,
address.
sir? Where's Andrew? Where's Andrew Tirrell?
Fuck it. He's got a. I've got your social memorized too, and your mom's maiden name. So if we want to go there, we can go there, Reese. This guy's Mr. Shots Thrown. Guy couldn't even make it to Chicago. He was too scared.
This guy's
He heard
so
that we were
upset
going to
about
the
his
club.
sweatpants.
Fuck no. He heard we were going to the club on Thursday night, and Reese is sitting there. Oh, I can't make it. No way. No way I'm making it tonight. Had a time of our lives. Didn't get home until what, Trav?
It was special.
9 a.m. the next day. 10. Reese was already at his desk working.
Straight
Hold
to the
that.
sprinter.
Hold that real quick, fellas. Hold that real quick. You didn't
Straight-
stay out till
straight to
9
the
a.m.
sprinter.
Hell no.
Straight to the sprinter.
No,
we didn't
they
go back in
didn't.
the room. We went straight to the sprinter. We recorded
Yeah.
a wonderful podcast. I was signing autographs on the way in. And then what did we do after that? We sat courtside because we can. But you guys have heard that already. We don't need to go back into the details. You've seen the visuals. It was special.
You know what we can go through, though? NCAA tournament. Terps. First off, that first game, I thought we were dead in the fucking water. We started out just like we did in Michigan.
Bro, that was like the worst nightmare though. And that's what we talked about last podcast was like that stage and that moment can kind of be a little much. And it looked like to start the game, like we were nervous. It was our first time there. It was, oh my God, we're playing, we're here. I thought honestly being the first game of the tournament, we'd come out, juices flowing. We had a relatively old team, a senior team ready to play. And that was a little nerve-wracking the first 10 minutes of the game. But we picked it up. We went over the course of the game. I think I was texting you guys, like, it felt like we were the better team. Like, watching that game, Juju was dominant. It felt like across the board we were the better team.
Yeah, 9 minutes into the game, it was 16-4. So in 9 minutes of play, Terps scored 4 points, and it was scary. I mean, we all thought the same thing. Terps are in trouble. But like Kevin said, they turned it around, and they look like the better team for the next 30 minutes of the game. And I think it's a huge win for Maryland. I honestly think, I guess I don't love using the term, but it's kind of a rebuilding year. It's Willard's first year. And I think that should be the brand of Maryland basketball. If you're, quote-unquote, rebuilding or you're not as strong as normal and you can make a round of 32, I think it's a successful year. But now you need to turn that into a potential Final Four run.
Which I think this builds on itself, though. You know what I mean? Like, how many guys have played in the tournament before that were on the team? I don't think Julian's played in the tournament before. I don't think Jamir's played in the tournament. I don't think Don's played in a tournament. Dante's played in a tournament with you, Reese. So did Hakeem. But besides that, I mean, this now I think is a good way for Julian and Jamir, who are going to be our best two players next year, for them to get a little bit more experience, to get more comfortable under Willard. And, whereas going into the year, you have to think everybody's a little shaky about who we are. Now I think the expectation is going to be high. And like, Rex Ryan, who's crazier than hell, has said, you don't want to be under the radar. You want to, you want to be the team that has the expectations on them, and you want to prove them right.
I wonder if in some ways, too, this was like a deep breath for Willard. I'm sure going into this year, it's a fresh job, a big-time job. He's coming to Maryland. He's got, like Reese said, a quote-unquote, it's a rebuilding year. He brought in a lot of transfers. The expectations are pretty low. And for him to kind of knock out his first tournament win as a Maryland head coach, I think has got to feel really good. And it just, the monkey's off the back. I think he's got the fan base believing in him. He's got really good momentum going into next year and hopefully years after. He has some people returning that we'll get to later in the show. But I think for him, too, this has got to be, if you asked him 11 months ago, if he's happy with how this season turned out and them getting a tournament win in his first year and getting to build, I think he'd take it right away.
I think what was special about the win was like the way it happened. It was gritty. Like that's the type of win that you can actually like really build your program on top of, like a culture off of. Like we were down 12 points to like a veteran physical team. We hadn't seen physicality like that probably all season. And did we get punked a little bit at the beginning? Sure, we were nervous. But for the guys to kind of settle down and be the tougher team for the last 30 or so minutes, like that's the type of win that you can say like next year we can hang our hat on that. Like we are a tough team. We get after it. We defend. I thought it was massive. I can't downplay it.
It's one of those things too where, like you just said, Kev and Trev, you kind of hit on it too. No matter what, he still has 2 tournament wins now. He's won one in the Big Ten tournament, which is massive. I mean, we haven't won in the Big Ten tournament in what feels like forever. I didn't
win one.
I think our last win was in 2016 with my group, and then
we won one in 2020.
Yeah, against Michigan State. Yeah, the COVID year. The
Mickey Mouse.
The Mickey Mouse, exactly.
Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, that whole thing was Mickey Mouse.
That's the game. That's the game. Juwan and wasn't that? No, that was the next game. The next game was the game Juwan and Tirrell was about to scrap.
Yeah, because whatever that was. But so I mean, either way, you just have pressure off of you now, and even as a player like Jamir, like I know, at least for Anthony for a little bit there, I know he felt pressure to win a tournament game because I remember when we beat Belmont in 2019. We were sitting in the locker room and he tapped me and he was like, man, I needed that. We all like needed that win to kind of cement yourself into, you can score 2,000 points, but if you never won a tournament game, what does 2,000 points really mean, Yeah. So I think for Jamir, I think that allows him to calm down as well next year, less pressure. And then for the rest of the guys, there's a new expectation and it's always been the expectation, but you kind of see a pattern that can get built on.
It is. It's kind of like, it's very similar to seeing your first shot go in. It's like right away, it's like, okay, now I can take a deep breath. Now I can relax. I can get into the flow of the game. Now, hopefully for the next couple of years and looking at next year, it's like they already know what that winning feels like. It probably doesn't feel like it's so much pressure in the fan base is just looking for a win in the NCAA tournament. It's like, okay, we can take a deep breath. We've done this before. Let's get this first one. Let's like you look forward to more than let's just try to win this first game and go from there. Like I guarantee you the expectation of this team moving forward, especially returning Jamir and the guys that they're bringing in, is going to be not win one game of the tournament. It's going to be able to do more.
Yeah, I couldn't agree because Maryland fans don't want to feel like it's the Mark Turgeon March Madness again. And for Willard to get that first win, because say they do lose West Virginia. I mean, it's a 50-50. It was a good game. Say they lose that, and next year they're a great team and somehow they get upset. It happens in the first round. All of a sudden you're looking at fans are like, oh no, here we go again. And Willard's going to feel that. So I think winning that first game is huge. They get a tournament win, and again, they're just going to build right off that. And guys have experience, and they know the feeling of winning an NCAA tournament game. It's an incredible feeling.
And
I think now you look at it and it's like, okay, we got to win. And I think the next step is like second weekend. Like next year, the expectations to be second weekend. And Kev said it, like, it doesn't matter if you're a 1 seed, a 2 seed, a 4 seed. If you go into that game next year and you haven't won one yet, it's like you feel pressure. Like, we haven't won one. We have to get this win. This is going to be 2 disappointing postseasons back to back. And then it's all this, okay, year 3, whatever. Now, again, like everybody just said it, we can go into next year saying, like, we got one.
Well, look at Jamir. Look how Jamir started that game. Look how he played the whole game, to be honest, against West Virginia. Yeah. There were clear nerves. Yeah. I mean, now, granted, the whole fucking game plan was against him, like defensively. Like you trap him off every ball screen. You
jumped him.
You put Toussaint on him, as a 6-man, things like that. But still, you're still nervous. So I think getting one under his belt, I think next year he comes in and he doesn't worry as much, which will allow him to get off to a better start more than likely. But more than that, you're just more comfortable. I mean, that's.
And on a quick X's and O's in that game, you said it, Drew. Their whole game plan was trap Jamir off everything. Every ball screen, trap him. He drives, help. I think the best thing Willard did in the first half is he said no more ball screens for him. because they were just doubling him. Like they were taking him out of the game. No more ball screens, so he was able to kind of drive and get downhill just one-on-one against his man, and then it allowed for other people to kind of step up and take more ownership of the offense. But that was again a big thing because adjustments, sometimes coaches don't see those things. They don't make that call, but we kind of corrected that early.
And also just to rile up all the fans, because I know everybody hates Turgeon, or at least the majority of people do. Dude still made 3 round of 32s, made a Sweet 16, made the tournament like 5 out of 7 years. Like, he won the Big Ten. You can say what we want about him. Like, the expectation is always going to be higher than whatever you do until you win a national championship. So I know, we're sitting here saying, oh, that's a great job from Willard, But again, we got to the round of 32. We got beat pretty handedly to Alabama. I understand the expectation needs to be higher and will continue to get higher. And, as we've seen in previous coaches and previously, with other kind of bodies of work, nothing under a national championship or a Final Four is going to be acceptable. So, I also think getting a couple wins under your belt helps, but it won't stifle any expectations over the next couple of years.
Winning's hard. Like winning is very, very difficult. I think people take it for granted in college basketball just how difficult it is. Even one win in the NCAA tournament, a couple wins, like it is very, very difficult. So I think you have to not take those for granted, and obviously you're always going to strive for more and want more and demand more, but winning is not easy. Like, celebrate success.
Well, look at the Final Four.
Yes.
This year.
And, yep.
You know what I mean?
Bingo.
Like, you sit there and you're like, okay, we're better than pretty much every single one of those teams. Like, even during the middle of the season, we probably would have beat UConn on a neutral, in my opinion, and we beat Miami by like 50.
Destroyed
Beat the
Miami.
shit out of Miami. Beat the shit out of those guys.
So I also think winning a national championship is another, like, take with a grain of salt, because a lot of luck goes into it. That my personal opinion. Now, you should expect to win, but shit, a lot of luck goes into that.
And even look at North Carolina. I mean, shit is not given in college basketball. They were number 1 in the country coming in preseason, and they can't even make the NCAA tournament. So it's not easy, like Travis said. And but I do think, as we're talking about, Maryland's going to flip the script and hopefully make some big runs.
What was your guys' biggest takeaway from that Alabama game? Because I think West Virginia, it felt like, in my opinion, it felt like we had the better team. We were more talented. I think we had the best player on the court. I know Stevenson had an off game, and man, I was texting you guys during that game. It felt like every shot he was taking was going to go in. Like, that guy can make shots. So luckily he was off, but the Alabama game definitely felt like, in order for us to win that, we needed the other guys to play well. The other guys being people outside of Jamir and, in a lot of ways, Julian down the stretch. And we didn't get the production, but it felt like, hey, we got this close at the half, but like Alabama's on the verge from breaking this open, and that's kind of what happened.
I think it's exactly like we've talked about earlier in these podcasts. And it's the fact that I think Maryland is going to shift the way Big Ten basketball is played. I think we're going to get athletes. I don't think we're going to rely on having a big 7-foot center or, some just massive middle center guy. And I hear you, Kev. I could care less what you're saying right now.
Too. We get to get to that.
No, don't. We're not going to do that. We're going to talk about it, but we're gonna make sure the argument is very clear on what. We're going to talk about it, but we're going to be very clear, because you're going to twist everybody's words and be like, "Oh, you said this, you said that." I said
the clips.
We're not doing that.
We have the clips. I will say what was said.
The same thing we
run the
always
tapes.
do.
Run the tapes. Play them back.
We'll get to it. We'll get to it. But what I'm saying is, they were so much more athletic than we were. Oh, yeah. And so you have two things to beat an athletic team like that. You either out-athlete them, or you are so disciplined, San Diego State,
yep,
and you guard so hard and you place, you box out every single play. Because Alabama's best offense is what? Go miss your shot and
Go
go
get
in.
it. Go get it.
Just go get it.
it.
And then they'll have a guy or two that gets stupidly hot, just like any other, AAU team out there.
Which
so it's
Quinley
one of
did.
those things where, I think Maryland is going to shift the way the Big Ten is run because of who Willard recruits. And then also that's going to be a huge credit to, the new members of the conference that are coming in with UCLA. They don't run a 7-footer down there that, is just a ground and pound. Now they're super disciplined. They're not an AAU team, but you'll get these new guys from especially the East Coast and down south that are coming to Maryland. And I think, 5 years or less, we're going to be, we're going to be the athletic team in the conference.
Well, that's the advantage of being Maryland. That's the old ACC ties. The people that are around us, the type of players that come from DC are not. We can recruit different kids than Iowa's going to go recruit, that Nebraska is going to go recruit, that IU is going to go recruit. Like we can get access to it, in my opinion, a different level of player. A more complete player, quote unquote, more athletic. Maybe guys that would usually go and play for an ACC school. We can bring that to the Big Ten, which would just be an outlier. And that's an advantage you get from plainly just being Maryland.
I think watching the game, it was two things. First of all, it was the athleticism. We still have work to do left there, but I think it was also like
size,
length, girth, all that. I think the other thing is they just had a gear we don't have yet. Like they had guards. Look who's in the Final Four. Every team who's in the Final Four had a couple guards who just got dumb hot. Wong and Pack from Miami. The FAU had like 4 different guards get hot. SDSU had this Trammell kid who's making shots. We didn't have that guy this year that could get hot. Alabama had it. Quinterly had 25 in the second half.
Quinterly's a shot maker. Brandon Miller's a shot maker. Isaiah Wong's a shot maker. UConn is huge. Like San Diego State just guards, but that's what wins the answer. You need to have 2 or 3 guys on your team that could go get a shot by themselves.
Guards. And we were not quite there yet.
We didn't. Like Jamir didn't shoot great the whole tournament, and outside of him, it's like, where were we going to turn to if like, hey, we need to run a play to come back in this game. We got down 12. How are we going to get back in that game?
But we've talked about it before. Like Willard gets those guys. Willard's had them.
Yes.
Like in the past, you look at his
Miles
track record.
Powell. I mean,
He got them.
The list is
Seton Hall.
endless. So that is the types of guys he's going to get, and he's going to let them rock out and do what those guys are doing. Like he's done it before, he'll do it again. And like you guys just said, at Maryland, it's easier than anywhere almost.
It's like when we went there over the summer, Kev, and were you there,
Yep.
Reese?
Mm-hmm.
Kev and Reese, we were sitting there and we were talking to Willard, and he says, when he was with Miles Powell, who I think was one of the best scorers there for a long time, and then you have that other guard that ran the Big East for a long time.
Miles
I can't remember his name. Well, no, and there's one more behind him.
Whitehead.
Isaiah Whitehead.
Yeah.
Whitehead.
And, he talked about it, and he says if they play defense, they can do whatever the heck they want on offense, which is how you win tournament games. And I know, a lot of people say at Seton Hall he didn't win the tournament games, or he started out strong and didn't finish the seasons well. Who really cares? As long as you get really good players, you play defense, and you have a guy that can go. That's how you win tournament games, in my opinion.
And he, in that same conversation, he went on to say that at Seton Hall, which is hard to recruit there, I mean, that school compared to Maryland, that he was always one guy away. He could get the one player, but at Maryland, he feels he can get 2 or 3 of those guys, and that's what he says he needs to go on and make a run in the tournament.
Yeah,
well, that's what's huge about Jamir returning too. Like Jamir just bought him. I think Jamir returning, like the ripple effect of him coming back on the program for the next 3 or 4 years could be huge. Like it buys you right now. Again, next year, Jamir pointing to say he could be our best player. Similar, second team All Big Ten. He was mostly the guy on our team that we said, hey, if we're going to make it around the NCAA tournament, it's going to be because of him. Jamir Young, and this is for most teams of college basketball, you need guys to stay. You need some players sometimes that it's like, hey, maybe he could have gone, but he came back and he stayed, and that's how you build programs. Like if Jamir were to leave, who's our point guard next year? If we're bringing in a transfer, we're bringing in a freshman. now
gotta
he
start over,
stays. You start over. Now he stays. You still recruit another point guard. You still bring one in, but there's a whole grooming process. There's by the time Jamir's now going to be stepping away as a fifth year, you have hopefully either a sophomore or a transfer that's coming in that has had a year of experience, played behind him, and it's just and he's ready to take the reins and ready to move on with the program. And you hope that can kind of happen at a couple positions, and hopefully Julian will also be back. But there's, as a program wise, when coaches can get guys like this to stay, and thank God for the COVID year, this can truly have ripple effects for the next couple of years of Maryland staying relevant.
I just want to point out, everybody complains about NIL and pay for play, and now it's the NCAA is turning into the wild, wild west. This is exactly what it was intended to do. Because 3 years ago, he's gone. He's going wherever he's going, play professionally, get paid to play. Now he's you know what, I can make a comparable bag here in Maryland.
More money.
I might make more money, so I'm going to stay, compete for a championship. I love playing at home. I love playing for these fans. I want to take this program to the next level. NIL is what made this possible, so I think this is a big win for that whole concept to say you know what, this is what it's intended for. Keep fringe guys in college.
And this,
Kev, what did you enjoy more? Take money completely out of it. What did you enjoy more, college or your college life or NBA? Completely take money out of it. I know that's tough because you live in a nice house, go to nice hotels and shit. But take that out. Where would you rather be?
Yeah, I mean, I had a great college experience. I think if you were to say what I've enjoyed my third year of college or my rookie year in the NBA, I think I would have enjoyed my third year of college. Was looking forward to that, but at the time, like you said, the NBA was the only thing that could offer me money. If this was 4 or 5 years ago, and the threat of leaving, and let's be honest,
you're not staying.
This
guy's trying to say he'd stay.
I would say, but a major reason for leaving was the passing up that guaranteed money. That was obviously, it's a life-changing thing, and there's no guarantees. I know Miles Bridges came back, and he was a lottery pick, came back, was a lottery pick again, and maybe if I had stayed, I would have put myself into the lottery, but guaranteed money was a huge factor in that. And so if you told me if Maryland came back and was able to offer X amount of money, I think that would have been a factor that said, hey, there's a chance I could stay, because we've talked about it. I did want to. It was a thing I wanted to do. It just, there was too much to pass up on at the time. That, like you said, now you have Armando Bacot on UNC. Same thing. That guy's going to get $1 million to come back to UNC, and he's do I stay here, or am I going to go and try to grind and probably be up and down G League 10-day, whatever it is, or oversee? There's no guarantees for him either. And so he did the same thing. I'll take another year of eligibility. I'll stay at UNC, maybe the biggest college brand there is, and I'm going to collect a check, and I'm going to have a great time, and then my professional career can start after that.
Yeah. And for Maryland, it's huge, as we were talking about, having Jamir come in, because he's going to be a leader. It's fifth year in college basketball, second year at Maryland. We have 3 4-stars coming in, but they're freshmen. So having a leader to look up to like Jamir, who's a great guy and is all about Maryland. So having that guy there is going to be huge. And for those, we're talking about NIL, Maryland's NIL is not up there with certain schools. I mean, you see Miami, $2.2 million for all their players. But I do know if you want to contribute, you can. Anyone can. It's Tirrell NIL. It's kind of the pot of money they use to dish out to players. So anyone interested,
what are you, a booster, Reese?
He's a booster.
We're all doing
alum of the year.
Hey,
screw that. We're all doing our part, bro. Hell yeah.
You think we're gonna get, if Justin Moore was going to Maryland, they said, hey, we can get you $80,000. Okay, but I can go to UNC and get $500,000. I wish I was home, but I'm going to UNC.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't let him say shit, Reese.
I don't disagree.
I'm all for you guys want to get players or what?
Nah, I'm all for it. It was just timeout. I got my script ready. He sold the shit out of that. He could have sold
It's almost like he got paid to do that. Did you get some NIL from that?
Reese has an NIL alum. The first NIL alum deal in history.
Don't check.
Hold up, Reese. What was the Reese? Let's just put it out. What was the website again? Where am I going?
It's Tirrell.
Andrew Tirrell talking about. Andrew's talking about how he's got this money. Let's put that back into the program.
Oh yeah.
Don't let these clothes fool you. I got money.
Andrew Tirrell just promised $1,000 donation to the Tirrell NIL collective for us to win the Big Ten next year.
Hashtag Kith, dog. This is Tommy Bahama. Hey, don't let this shit fool you, man. Don't let this shit fool you. Hey, I'll also say this, Reese. You just said it really well. Jamir coming back to be a leader is massive because when you're a new guy, it's really tough to like lead right away. Because when we were there in the summer, Kevin, I don't know if you remember this at all, but when we were in the summer and we were playing, like I think Dante shot the ball 5,000 times. Yeah. And like 5,000 times. I was on the other team and I was getting driven nuts by it. I was sitting there like, okay, we're just going to let him shoot. He's going to shoot whatever he wants. Let's just let him shoot. And I'm talking to Jamir after. I'm like, bro, you got to like demand that shit. Like if that happens, I remember Anthony, our senior year, like somebody would do something. Anthony would be in their shit. You know, so I always think even we were in people's shit about that. Like, play how you're going to play in games. Guess what? If Jamir's going to have the ball a lot, give him the fucking rock. You know, let him do his thing. So, but it's tough. It's tough to be a leader. And I think he can start next year and he'll demand just respect immediately because of what he's proven this past year.
It'll be completely different because he was new. He was brand new. It's a new team, new scenery, new staff, all that. Exactly. Now he's coming back and he's like, look, I was second. I was all Big Ten. This is my shit. Like, this is my shit, my team. And he plays the most important position on the court. Like, everybody wants to play with a great lead guard. Doesn't matter what else is happening on the court. You have a great lead guard. People are going to want to join that. So it's almost exciting now to be like, okay, they have this leader to rally around. Like, what other pieces do we get to kind of like finish this puzzle and see what type of roster we have?
I mean, I love the segue into team building. You know, putting together a team that could win you a national championship and win in the NCAA tournament. Let's just pause real quick, and I just want to see these guys' faces. Reese saw the night that this all went down. Purdue
got pissed, by
Purdue
the way.
Becoming the second team in NCAA history to lose to a 16 seed. And guess who was on that team? Everybody in this podcast favorite college player, the most dominant player ever in college basketball. The guy is the next Yao Ming.
Y'all hear this?
He's
y'all
the next great. These guys were on his nuts all year. And our argument.
Read his stats.
Let's go back. No. Here's the thing. Here's where the argument is. We talked about if you were to start an NCAA team to win a national championship in terms of building a team, and you get to have a fantasy draft. This was the argument. I said I would take Trace Jackson Davis, gentlemen? And everyone on this fucking podcast laughed. Oh my God, no, that.
I agree.
And I said, Trace
went far this year. Trace went far this year.
No dominant one big man like Zach Edey wins. They don't win. Teams figure them out.
We agree.
The teams,
with that.
You're forced to play at their pace. It's slow. It's lumbering. Like, no big man wins.
Reiterating points that we agree with. Like, false. I'm looking at the chat right now, Ernest. I see you saying we have the tape. The only tape you have is Kevin saying over and over that this.
We have the tape. We have the tape. You guys laughing too. We have the tape of you guys defending Zach
we have
Edey.
the tape of us saying that he's the most dominant.
The guy doesn't miss a jump.
He was National Player of the Year, bro.
The top 5 team.
It shows he's.
Matt Painter's a genius. He's going to find him to get him the ball. They lost. There was also this stat. FDU, they were like the shortest team in college basketball this year.
Reese, read the
shortest
stats.
team.
What did he do?
Did you watch the game? He was guarded by 4. He had guys hanging off of him like babies.
He was ineffective. There's difference between looking at the box score and watching the game. He was ineffective.
You didn't watch the game, Kevin. Like, I'm being dead serious. There's no way. And I know you didn't because you played that night.
False.
You had a game that night.
False.
Yes, you did.
I didn't
you didn't
play
watch
that
the
night.
game.
I didn't play that night. It was in D.C. I was hurt.
He didn't play. I saw him after. But real quick, the thing is, look how bad Purdue looked. And you can't tell me. He led them to a number 1 seed, to a Big Ten regular season tournament title and a conference title. And Purdue's team was that bad. I mean, did you watch them? They were wide open. I think
I've never seen worse guard play in my life.
If we had,
it was they were as scared as I've ever seen a group of kids. Bro, I talked to somebody super close with Purdue basketball, and it was shocking just listening to them talk about it and be like, how do you not make shots? Like, at some point you got to make shots. Like, people can blame Painter and people can blame Edie and all this stuff. At some point, you got to have some nuts and make some threes.
If he's the
Beyond
most
that, they was
dominant
fumbling
player
the ball.
ever
They
in
couldn't
college
dribble the
basketball,
ball.
What did Trace Jackson Davis
he was the
do?
most
He lost by
dominant.
20.
You guys, this came out of your mouth. He's the most dominant player ever in college basketball, and they lost to a 16 seed, who was the shortest team in the NCAA this year.
Kevin,
Those are facts.
what did Trace Jackson Davis do though? Like they lost in the round of 32 by
Trace
by
Jackson
20,
is
and then
more of a complete player.
Hang on. Then a year ago, they were also in the round of 64 and check the score, lost by 31 points to St. Mary's. Like, what are you talking about? I understand what you're saying. Like, oh my God, he had a great year in the Big Ten. He lost in the round of 32. Sucked. He was terrible. Like, what do you want to say? Like, oh yeah, he went far in the tournament.
When you have a player,
they both lost. They both suck.
when you have a player like Zach Edey can only play one way. He's
what'd
slow.
Trace do?
He
What
clogs
did
up
Trace
the paint. When you have a player like Zach
What did he
Edey
do?
and you're getting beat by an FTU and your game plan isn't working, you have nothing else because your best player can only play one way. Trace Jackson Davis is a more versatile player. He does more things on the court. He could play within an offense that has different layers. It's not just let's set a cross screen and try to post this guy up all game. Purdue, that
staying
wasn't
dominant,
working.
yeah.
That wasn't working. When Purdue couldn't score at the end of the game, they kept running the same damn thing. That wasn't working. Zach Edey cannot do anything else but go stand on the block, put his arm up, and try to shoot jump hooks, and then get the offense rebound. Trace Jackson Davis, you can put him with other players, put him in different positions on the court that'll like give your offense different layers that can win at a higher level than what Purdue with one main big will ever be able to win at.
That's a fine.
saying
That's a
dominant.
fine point, but
we have to
also
move on after this.
put Trace on Purdue.
We have to
Put
move
Trace
on.
on Purdue. They're not top 4 in the Big Ten.
We have to move on because we will be here all night.
Last point is just I told you guys. I told you that's the whole point of this.
See,
whole
that's
thing.
why I got to
Just
move
I
on.
told you.
Let 'em
Wipe
have
it,
it.
wipe
Let
it,
'em have it.
wipe
All right.
it.
All right, glad we touched on that.
Okay, now let's just talk real quick about Kevin and I might not be friends after this. Let's just talk about Willard. So I know we touched on it, kind of takes a monkey off of his back of winning tournament games. What did you guys think? Whole body of work. Think back all the way to the beginning of the season where we started out strong. We played really well in neutrals. We played teams well. It's a brand new team. Think about when we lost to UCLA by 40 at home, and then think about the response throughout the entire year. What did you guys take from Willard's first year? And then is a national championship a realistic expectation at this point? I know Maryland, I know I get all that stuff, but can he win a national championship?
Yes. It was an incredible job. We talked about it before the year. I mean, we can't deny we did not think these guys were very good. We did not.
I thought they stunk.
We did not think they were really, but they were borderline. I thought they were going to be a bubble team at best.
Me too.
In the best case, best case was I think bubble team that gets in.
And
is what a lot of people thought.
And they had rumors
including
of
some.
Yeah. And they almost were a 5 seed during the year. They were playing extremely well. Now they got to find a way to win on the road. That was pretty embarrassing, 1-9 in the Big Ten. But dominating on the Big Ten at home was incredible. I thought they did a great job. I think, as we talked about before, he's going to bring athleticism. He's going to bring the DMV basketball to Maryland. And like Drew said, sometimes in March it's just luck. But you create your own luck, and I think they'll have a chance to do something special.
I think he gets high marks because, first of all, like we had a really rough patch in the middle of that season, and he had us playing some of our best basketball at the end of the year. Like I think that's the mark of a really good coach, a really good coaching job. I think that we kind of built an identity that helped us win games at home this year, and I think is going to become who we are in the Big Ten. I think that's super important, and I think at the end of the day, like he exceeded expectations. So I think he gets an A. For me personally, he gets an A. Like 1, 2, 3. But now the important thing is that was year 1. Now it's all about year 2. Like, it's great to do this and that this year. What will really define what the outlook is how he builds on that next year.
For everything you guys said, and then I also think he did a great job of coaching to the strengths of this team. And this team had a lot of things that were wrong with it. The depth was a problem that we were worried about going into the year, but we didn't have great shot makers. Like outside of Jamir and Don was a little streaky throughout the year, and Hakeem and Dante. And off the bench, we didn't really have much offense at all. But he picked up the pressure. We were scrappy all year. We picked teams up full court. Jamir had the ball. We played in ball screens a lot. We spaced the floor. We slowed the game down. Like, that was a thing that I don't think we talked about. Like, offensively, we're very methodical. We played into the shot clock. We limited possessions for the course of a game. And so it'll be interesting, like, to see how he coaches teams moving forward. But I think this team definitely had, some things that were wrong with it, some downfalls, and that'll improve as talent gets better and this program gets better. But I thought he did a really good job coaching to what we did have.
And I know we just talked about the Edey thing, but that's what Painter does. Painter literally recruits people into a system. And that's what he's done for the past couple of years. And he's done it 3 bigs in a row. I mean, he had Edey, then he had Haas, then he had Hammond, and I'm sure you could go back even to Juwan Johnson, et cetera. But, like, you look at how you recruit teams and you see success behind it. And I know you don't see national championships and shit like that, but you see a lot of Big Ten rings. You see regular season dominance. You see a program that is, stapled in as a top 5 program in college basketball at the current moment, over the past 7-8 years, which is all you can want as a college basketball fan. So I think, to Kevin's point, if Willard continues to coach to a system that he agrees with, and then he gets players to buy into that system, these are all Turgeon's players. I mean, there's no mistake about that. This is 100% Turgeon's team. The only guy I think that isn't is maybe Jamir and then the kid that came from and Long. Besides that, I think everybody else is just Turgeon's people. So now think about if he can go out there and recruit to, hey, I want to play super quick, in your shit, play hard defense, and you can get stupid hot at times. Well, he's going to get 4 of those guys.
Let me ask you, Travis, this, because you played it, like Travis and Reese, I guess all of you, like, you played against him at Seton Hall. And outside of, they've one dominant offensive player every year. Was this system we saw this year what he was doing at Seton Hall? Because, like you said, Andrew, like, this could change as it moves forward year to year too. As he gets his players in, then that might change. Like, was this what you guys saw from at Seton Hall? You expect it to change?
I think it was along those lines, on that path. I think those Seton Hall teams were a little bit grittier in terms of, like, I think they were more ingrained in that system. Like, they were more comfortable doing that. They'd been doing it for years. They were older. Those teams were a little bit grittier. So I think, like, the next step for us is to be a little bit tougher, a little bit nastier, a little bit more physical. Like, there's a little bit more, I think, that needs to be done to kind of fully get us to the point where, like, because you guys remember, like, Quincy McKnight was, like, barking at us.
Yes.
Like, he was spitting on the floor looking at me.
He was going crazy. Miles Cale was muttering to himself for hours on end. Like, those guys were a little bit crazy. I think we have a little ways to go. I'm not saying we have to be doing that. Like, that's nuts. But you get what I'm saying in terms of, like, there's a little bit more that needs to be done there.
The thing that,
bro, do you remember sitting on the couch in the varsity, and we would watch games? Like, this is 4 years ago, or even how many years are we out of school? 5 years ago, where we would all be sitting in the varsity, like, just eating food, watching a game, and it would be Seton Hall, and, like, they wanted to play for him. You know what I mean? Like, guys wanted to play for Willard. They're slapping the floor. He's slapping the floor. He's barking. He's excited. He's fired up. You know what I'm saying? So, like, we've been saying that he has a system where guys just want to go to war for him, and that you would go to war with him. You know what I'm saying?
And I think, like,
this is the system.
It took us a while to, like, figure that out. Like, and there's no shame in that. Like, we played half the season. We probably didn't know who we were as a team. Guys didn't know where they fit in the system. So there's absolutely no shame in that. But I think, like, as you get a year in where you say, like, I know the system. I know who I am. I know my role. Like, let's build on that and be a little bit more aggressive. I think that's the word. A little more aggressive.
He has to recruit well, though, because, like Kevin asked, at Seton Hall, they didn't run much offense either. Last year, there were spurts where we'd go 7 minutes without scoring, and we wouldn't call many plays. But if he recruits well, gets guys who can hoop and get their own buckets, we'll be just fine. But, I mean, when we played Seton Hall, like Travis mentioned, Cale and McKnight were cooking us. They didn't even have their best player, and McKnight went for, like, 25 because he lets guys rock. But if you don't get the right guys, it's a little tough, but I think he'll get the right guys who can go get buckets and make plays.
So now, on the flip side, we're basketball guys. I think you guys are the best basketball guys around. What do you guys think he could have done better this year / what needs to be better next year from a coaching program type of perspective? Because we said a lot of good things about him, but like he wasn't perfect.
Yeah, this team was a little bit offensively challenged. I think at times doing more on that end of the court. We're very, like I said, methodical. I think a way for us to find offense was posting up Dante from 20 feet, like backing guys down, forcing double teams. And you saw Hakeem sometimes trying to back guys down. I just think the best he can, continuing to try to find offensive-minded players and getting them to play defense, because ultimately that's what wins. And the San Diego States are an outlier. Tennessee is an outlier. But you look at the teams that are in the Final Four right now, and it's a weird year. But Miami's just got some dogs, and UConn. I mean, UConn's roster as a whole is unbelievable. So it'll just be his roster building moving forward will be interesting to watch, and obviously there's overall shot making on the offense side of the court, as I think in a lot of different games this year was the issue.
To that point,
Well, I also think. Go ahead, Reese.
real quick, to that point, I'd like to see more after timeout play calls and buckets. I mean, if you watched Michigan State, y'all can make fun of if you want about Tom Izzo, but after every timeout, it was a play for a wide open layup or a wide open three. And now, I don't know if he just didn't feel like he had the right personnel, but we rarely had that. You come out of timeout in a bucket. But that's what teams like Michigan State do. That's what good teams will do. So I'd like to see more of that in the years to come.
Yeah, I don't disagree at all. I also think I think people forget super often that, like, it's almost, to your teammates' point, Kevin, De'Aaron Fox, it is really tough to expect college kids to make a lot of shots and not go on big droughts. Like, I know plays really help with that, but you also don't want to come down and be Virginia and run a play every single time down the floor and you score 45 points and you muck the game up. You know what I'm saying?
It's nasty.
So like De'Aaron,
I agree.
it's like De'Aaron Fox said, it's amateurs. They're still amateur basketball players. And Maryland fans, I think you're going to get used to the same thing that happened with, and I'm sure it happened with Gary Williams, is, people won't want to admit it. It's going to be a lot of high pick and roll at the end of shot clocks because it's tough to create your own shot in college. Just is. So, I think while scoring droughts are expected, to Kevin's point, we just had too many. Like 19-4 is ridiculous. Like 22-0 is uncomfortable. And then 16-4 in a tournament game is ridiculous on a neutral.
Yep.
So just too many scoring droughts, even with the factor of, hey, these guys are amateurs, is my criticism toward Willard. But again, he didn't have his personnel. He didn't have his guys. Who knows? Maybe he'll have two guys that can go get a bucket next year, and it'll be like Isaiah Wong and Nigel Pack this year in the tournament.
But to Reese's point, I think every coach, especially at the highest level of college basketball, you should have plays that will generate an open look. Like, you have to have them. And a lot of coaches...
Two corner.
Yeah, man. A lot of coaches, like, they save them for the second half and they save them for the end of the game. But you said, if we're going to start off games and we can't score, like, you got to be able to generate a look. That's just, I know that I'm going to run this play and I'm going to get a guy a shot. And there was, like you said, there's times where we didn't have that.
You know what else college coaches don't do enough is run the same play over and over until somebody proves they can stop it. I feel like I watch NBA games, especially when the moment is brightest. Okay, and it's different. Again, give Kevin Durant the ball at the elbow. Okay, It's probably going to produce a bucket or it's going to be a good shot.
Great call, Coach.
But you keep running it. They keep doing that until they stop it. Don't go away from something that you can get a bucket, even if it's the same play. If they couldn't guard it the first time, without a timeout, guess what? They're probably not going to be able to guard it a second time. I think college coaches are too secretive with, their go-to plays because they don't want it scouted. Guess what? It's going to get scouted.
Yep.
I know what what Cassius Winston would eat for breakfast the day of games. Yep. It's just what it is. So I agree with you. I think having more ATOs and actually running plays that you can get buckets more often is critical.
To give you guys a bone here, like, probably outside of Izzo, the best coach in the Big Ten who does that is Matt Painter. Like, it just felt like guarding Purdue's offense every year is just hell. Like, they got counters, they got shooters, they got big men. They run a pin down, and then the next play they come in, they run a back screen. But it's the same action, and you have to guard it differently. But Purdue just runs really good stuff.
Yes.
And they run it hard as shit too. They run through that shit hard as hell.
And it's those counters you talked about. If you watch Kansas State and you watch Izzo's interview, he mentioned that they were beating them on ball screens early, so then they got aggressive, and that's when K-State started slipping them, and they got a huge buckets off that. So I agree. I didn't see much of Maryland this year running a play, and then all of a sudden, wow, did you see the counter out of that? I really didn't see that much at all this year, but something to look forward to for the years to come, maybe.
You know who low-key runs some shit? I wasn't familiar with his game. I have to apologize. UConn low-key, UConn be running some shit. If you watch, they got a little bit of pizzazz to that little offensive flow.
Drew's man knows what he's doing.
It also helps that they've got guys that are hitting shots at a high clip.
That does help.
Like this is super similar to at the beginning of the season when they ran through the Portland tournament. They just destroyed people, and then they, go on a little bit of a lull, but they always have the talent. It's so much about who is making shots at the time. Like Miami was not very good in the ACC.
No.
We beat them by 30.
Did they win?
But
the
they
ACC?
got hot at the right time.
It's a make or miss.
No.
Forget make or miss tournament. It's a make or miss sport. Like it really simply sometimes just comes down to that. And I think the most important thing you can do is recruit shot makers. Get guys on your roster who can make shots.
Alabama.
Like me.
Like trash.
Reese,
That's right.
Reese, you mentioned K-State. Can I just say possibly the best play I've seen in years of college basketball was Marquise Noel, the fake arguing with his coach on the sideline to throw the lob. Like, that was awesome. That was
So cool.
NCAA tournament basketball. That was like
Was
your
that fake?
savvy. No, that was 100%.
I'm
he
saying
sold
like,
that.
but like you think they sold that?
Yes.
Because I was having this argument the other day.
Yeah.
I couldn't
Did you-
tell.
Did you see him yell to the crowd before the play?
Watch this.
Well, I was there, so I missed it. I didn't see any of that. She was going crazy. I saw the clip after.
He said to the crowd, dribbling the ball up the floor, "Watch this," and then got in an argument with his coach, and then just a no-look lob. There's no way. I'm sorry, college kids don't have enough reflex to be able to do that without knowing. In my opinion.
That was awesome. I want all of that, more of it, and just like the perfect moment. Like, they had no idea that was happening.
I know, to catch Michigan State off guard like that, when it's tied with, a minute to go, I mean...
And Hogarth,
a reverse
it's your
lob.
leader,
Just
too.
Tom Izzo looked like
reverse
such
lob.
an idiot in that play, didn't he, Reese? You probably were just watching like, damn, Tom.
God, what are you doing, Tom?
A lot of dudes, lights would have been too bright, moment too big, pissed down their legs, and they're throwing reverse
and he
lobs.
reversed that. That was
At the Garden.
At the Garden.
We gotta
I think it's time.
We gotta let the people know what the plan is.
This is the
moving
sign off for the 2020. What year is it? 2023. Sign off for the 2022-2023 Maryland basketball season.
We got some
Sad, fellas.
big
This is tough.
plans.
I hate this moment.
We have some big plans.
We have massive plans. So this is just a see you later. This is not a goodbye. This is one of those where you hug your friend, you say I'll see you when you see you. It's one of those. We'll be back. You're going to see us when you see us. But what you need to do is go follow the socials. It's beyond the Big Tent. We need people to be locked in. This is one of those things where, especially on this podcast, Old Terps podcast, we had a lot of love. We had a lot of fan love, and we appreciate you guys more than you know. So we need you guys to continue tapping into it and kind of instilling, because it is bragging rights. I talk to other people in the Big Ten. I'm like, our fans are way better than yours. Ours tune into our podcast, and they like it. They ask questions and they're vocal about it. So continue doing that. Continue supporting Beyond the Big Ten as a whole. Let's get fired up. Old Terps podcast is on top, baby. We're number one, by the way.
We love you guys. We love you guys a lot. We talk about the basketball guys having to want it more. We as an Old Terps family all need to want it more together. We got to want to be the best, because we are the best. But we couldn't be the best without you guys. Brings tears in my eyes. This is special we're doing.
Beyond the Big Ten is a network of podcasts that aims to be your go-to resource for all things Big Ten. We cover the entire conference with shows hosted by ex-players and athletic alumni, aiming to be your go-to source of information and entertainment for your favorite team. Hosted by ex-Big Ten players, media, and insiders, our podcasts are focused on giving diehard fans and those alums an inside scoop about the teams and people that make the Big Ten Conference one of the most watched and most talked about conferences in sports. We're excited to talk Big Ten basketball with you wherever you may be. Subscribe now.